The Unexpected Awakening. Jason opened his eyes slowly. He didn't remember falling asleep. His room was dim, lit only by the soft blue light of the station's life support system. Everything felt quiet. Too quiet. But something felt strange, heavy, warm, like a weight on his chest. And then, he saw her. An alien girl was lying on top of him. Her eyes, bright glowing blue, stared into his, full of fear and confusion. Her skin shimmered with a soft violet tone. She had strange, elegant facial markings, and her silver-white hair fell across his face. Jason froze. She looked young, maybe early 20s in human years. She was wearing a station-issued caretaker's uniform, the kind used by house service androids, but this girl was no robot. She was breathing, shaking, alive. "What the hell?" Jason whispered. The girl flinched. She pressed her hands on his chest, like she was checking if he was real. I'm sorry," she said in broken English. I didn't mean to hurt." Jason slowly sat up, making her slide off to the side of the bed. She winced in pain and fell to the floor with a quiet cry. Jason quickly got out of bed and moved toward her. "You okay? Are you hurt?" She was holding her side, her fingers trembling. "Burns," she whispered. They punished me." Jason stared. "Who punished you? What's your name?" The alien girl didn't answer right away. She looked around the room like she expected someone to burst in. Then she whispered, "Please, don't report me. Don't send me back." Jason knelt beside her. "Look, I don't know who you are, but you need help." "No med bay," she said quickly. "They'll find me there." Jason hesitated. He could call security. He could press the panic button on the wall. But something in her voice, something in her eyes, made him stop. She wasn't a threat. She was terrified. "All right," Jason said softly. "No med bay, but you're hurt. Let me check your injuries." She looked unsure but nodded. Jason carefully lifted the back of her uniform. What he saw made him sick. Burn marks. Deep, raw, and fresh. These weren't accident burns. They looked like punishment, like someone had used a hot rod or laser strip on her back. He had seen this kind of abuse once before on a prisoner ship. Jason stood up, angry now. "Who did this to you?" The girl's lips trembled. "Lab below. Not listed. Hidden. I escaped. I hid here. This room. Empty, so I came. Didn't. No human still inside." Jason blinked. She thought his room was empty. That explained why she had climbed into the bed. She wasn't trying to attack or scare him. She had been hiding. Hiding in the only place she thought was safe. And then, something clicked in his mind. His assigned housekeeper for the week was supposed to be a maintenance bot, but when he checked the service log this morning, it showed a humanoid assistant had entered. He looked at her. "Are you my housekeeper?" The girl looked confused. "I wore uniform. They wouldn't look. I only wanted to stay, not be caught. Please, trust me." Jason sat back, trying to make sense of everything. She wasn't a part of any crew. She wasn't a listed alien citizen either. Someone had hidden her here, used her, and now she was running. "I can't leave." "You like this," he muttered. She tried to stand but fell again. Jason caught her before she hit the ground. She leaned against him, shaking. Her voice was barely a whisper now. "They watch through eyes, everywhere, even now. If I sleep, I get taken. That's why I laid on you. Your body blocks the scan. I feel safe." Jason was speechless. She had been on top of him to hide from scanners. That's why. His heart beat faster, not because of fear, but because of what that meant. Who was watching her? Why was she made to be so afraid? And what kind of secret lab existed below this station? He didn't know the answers. But Jason knew one thing for sure. This girl was in danger. And now, because of her trust in him. So was he, the housekeeper, with no past. Jason sat in silence, staring at the sleeping alien girl on his bed. Her name, she had said, was Valira. She was not on any crew list, not on the station database, no birth record, no species registration. According to the system, she didn't exist. Jason leaned back in his chair, scrolling through the station's crew manifest on his tablet. No entry matched her face or her description. Not even a record of a recent visitor with violet skin and glowing eyes. "Who the hell are you?" he whispered. Suddenly the lights in his quarters flickered. A quiet ding echoed through the room. Someone was at the door. Jason quickly shut the tablet and covered Valira with a blanket. She was still unconscious, her breathing shallow but steady. Her burns were healing slightly thanks to the cream he had found in the first aid kit. He walked to the door and pressed the comm button. A metallic voice spoke. "Apologies for the intrusion, Citizen Jason. We're conducting a hallway scan. Have you noticed any unknown individuals in your section?" Jason's heart skipped. "Unknown?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. "Yes. A malfunctioning unit, or unauthorized presence. It may appear human-like. Have you seen anything unusual?" Jason paused. "No. Everything's normal here." A short silence. Then the voice replied, "Very well. Thank you for your cooperation. Please remain in your quarters." The light turned red. Lockdown mode engaged. Jason locked the door again and returned to Valira. She was awake now, watching him. "They're looking," she whispered. "You lied for me." Jason nodded. "Why are they calling you a malfunctioning unit? Are you artificial?" She looked away. "I was made, but not machine. They call us living tools. Made in lab, trained to serve. I ran away." Jason felt cold. "Living tools? You mean slaves?" She gave a small nod. "I was designed to obey. They put us in uniforms, assign us to rich humans, diplomats, researchers. We smile. We clean. We stay silent. But I started to think, to feel. That made me dangerous." Jason sat down slowly, processing her words. "You said you were modified?" "Yes," she replied. "Fast reflexes, perfect hearing, memory like glass, everything. I see I keep. But I wasn't supposed to speak unless spoken to. Wasn't supposed to question." She touched the blanket covering her. "When I asked about freedom, they punished me. They erased my identity logs, tried to shut me down. I escaped through the waste tunnel." Jason blinked. "Wait, your identity logs? You had data implants?" She nodded. "But I burned them. Out. That's why system shows nothing." Jason stood and began pacing. If what she said was true, someone on this station, or under it, was running an illegal operation. Building bio-life forms, selling them, using them, hiding them. That was banned by galactic law. A war had been fought to stop this very thing. "How many others like you are there?" he asked. "Hundreds. Maybe more. Some know. Most don't." Jason clenched his fists. "Why come here? To me?" She looked at him, almost shyly. "You were kind," she said. "When I saw you weeks ago in corridor, you smiled at me. You didn't know me. You didn't see a servant." Jason blinked. "That was you? I thought you were a crew assistant." "I wasn't. I was hiding." Jason sighed and sat down beside her. "So why now? Why climb into my bed?" Valira looked him in the eyes. "The scans can't see through human contact. My creators designed that limitation so you could touch us freely without triggering security alarms. I used that rule. When I felt them searching, I panicked. I thought you were gone. I hid the only way I could." Jason felt a strange mix of anger and sadness. She had risked everything just to stay hidden, just to live. And now, she had dragged him into it. A loud thud echoed through the wall. Valira's eyes widened. "They found my trail." Jason stood up, grabbed his jacket, and handed her his emergency badge. Time to move. We're getting off this level. Valera hesitated. Where will we go? Jason opened the maintenance hatch in his floor. To the one place scanners can't track us, the crawl tunnels. She looked at him surprised. You're helping me. Jason smiled. I hate bullies. Especially rich ones who think they own people. As they slipped into the tunnel and sealed the hatch behind them, the lights in his room turned red. The searchers had arrived. Truth behind the uniform. The maintenance tunnel was dark, narrow, and full of dust. Pipes hissed with steam as Jason led Valera deeper inside, his small wrist light guiding the way. He could hear his own heartbeat. They had been crawling for nearly 10 minutes. Every few seconds, Valera would pause and press her ear against the metal wall, listening. Not for sound, but for vibrations. Her sharp senses could detect patrol boots, scanning drones, and even the faint hum of sensors. She whispered, They're above us, searching level by level. Jason nodded. They'll keep going until they find us. Valera looked down. You could leave me here. You'd be safe. Jason shook his head. Not a chance. They reached a small access shaft. Jason kicked open a side panel, revealing a cramped but empty storage bay filled with old crates and broken drone parts. It smelled like rust and oil. They climbed in and sat on the floor, catching their breath. Jason studied her in the light. She had changed out of the fake housekeeper uniform. Now she wore a simple station maintenance outfit Jason had grabbed from a forgotten locker. But even now she didn't look like a worker. She looked like a ghost who had survived fire. Jason finally asked, What did they build you for, Valera? She didn't speak right away. Then slowly she answered, They wanted perfect servants, ones who would never rebel, not machines, not full AI, but biosynthetic life. I was their test. Jason frowned. But why all this? Why build servants when bots can do the job? Bots ask questions, she said. Bots can record and report abuse. But living servants can be silenced. Jason's stomach turned. This isn't just illegal, it's evil. Valera nodded. They trained us using fear, pain, rewards. But I began changing. I felt things they didn't expect. Curiosity, sadness, anger. She pulled something from her pocket, a small melted ID tag. The letters were burned, but Jason could make out the name. Property of Sector 9B, Unit VL7RA. You weren't a person to them, Jason whispered. You were just property. Valera looked up at him, her voice trembling. When I ran, I didn't want revenge, I just wanted to be real. Jason clenched his jaw. We're going to expose them. How? Jason tapped his wristband. I'm a supply officer. I have clearance to move through most of the station, including lower decks. If we can get evidence, photos, documents, anything, we can send it to Earth Command. Once they know, Valera's eyes lit with hope. Then no one else will have to suffer like I did. Suddenly, a sharp beep echoed through the bay. Jason froze. Movement detected, Valera whispered, pointing to a blinking vent panel. Jason moved fast. He pulled a metal crate in front of the vent and ducked behind it, motioning for Valera to follow. They hid just in time. The vent cover popped off, and a small drone flew into the room. It scanned the area, hovering, whirring softly. Its red eye swept across the crates. Jason held his breath. Valera's hand found his. She squeezed tightly. The drone turned, and then it flew away. The two didn't move for several seconds. Then Jason let out a slow breath. Too close. We need to go soon, Valera said. They're narrowing the search. Jason nodded. We'll go tonight, when shift rotation changes. Valera looked at him curiously. Why are you risking this, Jason? He didn't answer at first, then he said, Because no one else did. I saw you in the hallway before, like you said. I thought you were just staff. I didn't know you were scared, I should have asked. I didn't. I won't make that mistake again. Valira gave a small, gentle smile. You saw me when I was invisible. That's enough. As they sat in silence, a new plan began to form. They would go to the lower decks, find the lab, get proof, and reveal the truth to the galaxy. But neither of them knew that someone was already watching. Hunters on the station. The station's lower decks smelled like chemicals, coolant, and secrets. Jason and Valira moved silently through the shadows, staying out of view from the patrolling drones. Pipes hissed overhead, and the floor trembled under their boots with the distant hum of the reactor core. They had no map, only Valira's memory. She had escaped from these halls once. Now she had returned, not to hide, but to expose the truth. 2 turns down, red door on left, she whispered, guiding Jason through a back corridor. Jason held a microscanner in his hand. It wasn't much, just a tool used for scanning crates, but he had rigged it to detect security fields and thermal trails. It beeped softly. Security lasers ahead, he said, pointing to the floor. Valira knelt and closed her eyes. Her fingers brushed the metal tiles. There's a power switch hidden beneath the 3rd grate. I remember feeling it when I crawled through here. Jason lifted the panel and found a tiny access switch. He flipped it. The scanner went silent. You're amazing, he whispered. Valira didn't smile. I had to be. They reached the red door. It looked like a maintenance closet. Dusty, rusted, and forgotten. But Valira stepped forward, placed her hand on the panel and whispered something in a strange alien tongue. The lock clicked open. Inside, the truth waited. The room wasn't large, but it was filled with horror. Rows of stasis pods lined the walls, each one holding a motionless figure inside. Alien girls, some with pale skin, others with scaled arms, feathers, horns, tails. Each one wore the same lifeless uniform, caretaker class. Jason stepped forward slowly. His breath caught in his throat. They were alive, frozen in stasis, waiting. This is just one storage room, Valira said. There are more. Dozens. Jason walked to a console and tried to access the records. It was locked. Restricted access. But he was a supply officer. His override codes worked. Lines of data filled the screen. Project code, LTS, living tool servants. Status, active units created, 372 units. Terminated, 89. Active in use, 214. Escaped units. When Jason stared at the last line, escaped units. 1 that's you, he said, turning to Valira. She nodded, but her eyes were on something else. A shadow moved across the far wall. Jason turned, but it was too late. A figure stepped into the room, tall, armored, and cloaked in black. Not a soldier, not security, something older. Smarter, crueler. I had a feeling you'd return here, Unit VL7RA, the figure said, voice like metal scraping glass. It was only a matter of time. Jason stepped in front of her. She's not yours. The figure tilted, his head. How noble. You think you're the first human to feel pity for one of our designs? He raised a hand and the stasis pods around the room glowed red. Valira gasped. He's triggering the purge. They'll all be erased. Jason acted fast. He ran to the console and began smashing buttons trying to halt the command. The override failed. Too late, the figure said coldly. You wanted the truth, human? Here it is. They are things, built to serve. And when broken, deleted. One of the pods sparked. Then another. Smoke filled the air. Valira screamed. Running to the console beside Jason, she pressed her hands flat against the screen and channeled all her focus. Her skin glowed faintly blue. Jason watched in shock as the system flickered, then stopped. The purge was halted. The stasis pods powered down safely. Valira collapsed to the ground, exhausted. Jason turned back to the figure. You lose. The figure's mask split open, revealing a pale, insect-like face with 4 glowing eyes. This isn't over, human. She belongs to us. Jason raised a metal rod from the floor. Then come take her. The figure snarled, then vanished in a blur, using a cloaking device. Jason ran to Valira and picked her up in his arms. They had the data. They had stopped the purge, but now they were being hunted. Escape through the vents. Alarms screamed through the lower deck like angry sirens from hell. Unauthorized access, Sector 9B breach, containment failure. Jason didn't stop to breathe. He had Valira in his arms, her skin cold and her body limp. The power surge she used to stop the purge had drained her. Her heartbeat was weak but still there, still fighting. He burst into the hallway. Red lights blinked on every wall. Automated doors began sealing, one by one. Hold on, Jason whispered. I'm getting you out. He ran straight toward the wall panel marked airflow maintenance and kicked it open. A gust of warm air hit his face. The vent shaft was narrow, barely enough space for one human body, but he had no choice. He laid Valira down gently, then crawled in behind her, pulling the panel shut. Just as he sealed it, heavy boots landed outside. A voice snarled, "They went this way." Jason stayed perfectly still. He held his breath. The boots walked past. Silence. He let out a slow exhale, then began crawling forward, inch by inch. The shaft creaked under his weight. He had studied this system before. It connected all major decks for emergency airflow and hidden repairs, but now it would be their lifeline. 10 minutes later, Valira stirred. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't be," Jason said, not looking back. "You saved them. You stopped that purge. You did more than anyone else ever could." "They'll kill us," she said weakly. Jason smiled grimly. "Let them try." They reached a fork in the shaft. Jason took the left path. It would lead to an old recycling chamber that hadn't been used in years. From there, they could enter a waste chute and drop straight to the civilian docks if it was still functional. Suddenly, the vent shook. Jason froze. He heard something behind them, a scraping sound, metal on metal. Then came a low growl. "They sent a crawler," Valira whispered. "Hunting machine. Small. Fast. Smells heat." Jason turned around and caught a glimpse of it. A metallic sphere the size of a football, covered in spikes, red eyes glowing. "Go," he said to Valira, pushing her forward. He pulled out his multi-tool, only a simple welder, and set it to maximum heat. When the crawler lunged, Jason blasted it with the welding torch. Sparks flew. It hissed and backed off, but didn't stop. Jason gritted his teeth. "Come on, you little freak." The crawler charged again. Jason slammed the torch into its eye. The vent exploded with sparks. Jason yelled as the heat burned his glove, but the crawler dropped. Dead. Smoke filled the vent. Jason coughed and crawled faster. He found Valira waiting ahead, her hand on a panel. "I found a drop chute," she said, barely standing. "It goes down to level 2. Jason kicked the panel. It opened with a screech. Below them was a black tunnel with swirling air currents. Jason looked at her. "Ladies first?" She smiled weakly. "Don't drop me." He helped her in, then jumped. After her. They landed hard on the metal floor of the recycling chamber. It was full of rusted machinery and broken food units. Jason limped to his feet, holding his side. "We're alive." Valira leaned against a wall, blinking. Then, footsteps. They weren't alone. From the far side of the room, 3 figures appeared. 2 were in black armor. The third was taller, with glowing silver skin and no face. One of the soldiers raised a weapon. Target acquired. Jason pulled out his last tool, a small flash grenade he used to scare off scavenger rats in storage rooms. "Close your eyes," he whispered to Valira. She obeyed. He threw it. The room exploded in white light. The soldiers screamed. Jason grabbed Valira's hand. "Run!" They bolted through the next door out into the hallway. Ahead, Jason saw a light, a green door sensor, an old dock entrance. They reached it, slammed the button. The door opened. Air rushed in. Stars. The hangar was open. Jason saw an old escape shuttle on the far end, dusty but still functional. They ran for it. As they boarded, Jason activated the launch sequence. The engines coughed, then roared. The door slammed shut behind them. The silver-faced hunter arrived a second too late, standing at the edge of the platform. Inside the shuttle, Valira sat beside Jason, breathing heavily. "You're insane," she whispered. "Only on Tuesdays," he joked. The ship launched. As the stars rushed past the window, Jason looked at her. "You're free now," but deep inside he knew this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. A human's choice. Stars stretched across the black sky like frozen fire as the shuttle fled into open space. Jason sat in the pilot's seat, blood dripping from a small cut on his temple. His hands gripped the controls tightly. Every second felt like an hour. Behind him, Valira leaned against the wall, breathing slow but shaky. Her violet skin had turned pale. Her body trembled. She was fading. "Don't close your eyes," Jason said, glancing back. "Stay with me." "I'm trying," she whispered. The medical kit on the shuttle was old. Half the tools were useless. Jason had wrapped her in emergency heat foil, injected a stim patch, and prayed. But nothing was working. He checked the long-range scans again. Still, no signal from Earth Command. Still no safe port nearby. Then the ship jolted. Jason looked at the dashboard. An incoming ping. Unknown ship detected, range 2,000 km class. Pursuit interceptor. Origin. Station 9. B. They had found them. Jason cursed under his breath. "Hang on," he said. "We've got company." The enemy ship was faster, sleeker, armed, with twin pulse cannons. Jason's shuttle wasn't a fighter, it was a rusty escape pod with wings. "We can't outrun them," he muttered. "Not in this." He looked back at Valira again. Her eyes fluttered open. "They'll shoot us down." Jason didn't reply. He reached under the seat and pulled out a metal case marked Emergency Beacon. Black code. "Jason?" she asked. Softly. He opened the case. Inside was a small glowing orb. "What's that?" Jason stared at the orb. "This is a black code beacon. I got it after my brother died in a pirate raid. It sends a distress call to any nearby Earth military ship. It also fries the shuttle's location to blind the enemy for 60 seconds. Then use it," Valira said. Jason hesitated. "There's a catch," he said. "The blast wave kills the shuttle's systems, engines, life support, everything. We'll be floating. Cold. With no power. No steering. If no one hears us. In time." She understood. If they used it and help didn't come, they'd both die. "I'll do it," Jason said. "You rest." But Valira gripped his hand. "No, I will." "What?" "You have to fly. If systems shut down, you'll know how to fix them faster than me. I'll trigger the beacon." Jason's voice grew tight. "Valira, I'm not letting you." Her eyes met his. "You already saved me once. Let me save you too." He didn't want to agree, but she was right. He nodded slowly. She reached out, picked up the orb, and walked to the back chamber where the signal range was strongest. Jason whispered, "Wait. One thing." She turned. Jason stepped close. "You're not a tool, not a servant, not some project." He placed his hand gently over her heart. "You're real, Valira." Her glowing blue eyes blinked fast, shining with tears. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me." She turned and closed the door behind her. Seconds later, a flash of white burst through the shuttle. Every light died. The engines died. The air system stopped humming. Jason floated in silence, frozen silence. Outside, the stars turned still. The enemy ship vanished from radar, jammed by the pulse. Now all they could do was wait. Valira crawled back into the main chamber. She was shivering, her lips almost blue. Jason pulled her close, wrapping his coat around her. "No answer yet," he said softly. "But I believe someone will come." "I believe too," she said, resting her head on his chest. They sat together in the dark, two strangers. Now something more. Then, a green light blinked on the console. Jason stared at it. Incoming transmission, Earth Fleet ID, Crusader 91. His heart leapt. "They found us," he shouted. He activated emergency comms. A voice answered, "This is Commander Nash of Earthship Crusader. We received your black code beacon. Hold tight. We're bringing you home." Jason laughed, his voice shaking. Valira smiled weakly. "You see, we weren't alone." "No," Jason said. "Not anymore. More than a mission." The docking clamps clicked. The shuttle door slid open with a soft hiss and warm white light poured in. Jason squinted. For the first time in what felt like days, he saw safety. Real safety. Human soldiers in black Earth Fleet armor stood ready with medics and scanners. Their leader, a tall officer with silver stripes, stepped forward. "Welcome aboard the Crusader 91, the officer said. "We picked up your black code beacon just in time." Jason nodded, barely standing. His body was weak, his eyes tired, but he wasn't thinking about himself. He turned. Valira was unconscious, her head resting on his shoulder. "Help her first," he said, voice shaking. The medics rushed in and carefully lifted her onto a stretcher. As they carried her away, Jason followed, refusing to let her out of his sight. Hours passed. Jason sat outside the medbay, blood on his sleeve, dirt on his boots. He didn't move, didn't sleep. He just waited. Then the door opened. A nurse stepped out with a calm smile. "She's stable, you can see her now." Jason stood slowly and entered. Valira lay on a clean bed wrapped in warm blankets. Her skin had color again. Her breathing was steady. She looked peaceful. When she opened her eyes and saw him, her face lit up. "You stayed," she whispered. "Always," he replied. He pulled a chair beside her bed and sat down. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Valira said, "The others? In the pods. Do they know?" Jason nodded. "The data you helped me pull, we sent it to Earth Command. They already started rescue operations. That lab, it's being shut down." She closed her eyes and exhaled. "Then it was worth it." Jason leaned forward. "It was more than worth it. You saved lives, Valira. You changed everything." She gave a faint smile. "All I wanted was to live. To matter." Jason reached out and held her hand. "You do matter. Not because you were created, not because of what they built you to be, but because of who you chose to be." Her fingers tightened around his. 2 weeks later, the Crusader 91 docked at Earth's orbiting settlement, Nova Reach. Jason and Valira stood together at the observation. Deck below them, the blue planet turned slowly. Valira wore civilian clothes now, soft flowing fabric in colors she had chosen herself. No uniform, no barcode, no label. She was free. "You ever been to Earth?" Jason asked. She shook her head. "Only in dreams." He smiled. "Then let's make it real." They walked down the ramp together. Cameras flashed. News crews waited. People wanted the full story. The rogue operation, the living tools, the brave whistleblower. But Jason kept one arm around Valira. She wasn't a story. She was a person, and her story was only beginning. 6 months later, Jason stood in front of a classroom of cadets at Earthfleet Academy. Behind him, a banner read, "History's Hidden Heroes, the Truth About Project LTS." He told them everything, not as a soldier, but as a witness. When he finished, the cadets clapped. Some looked stunned, some looked inspired. As they filed out, one young cadet stopped him. "Sir, that alien woman, the one from your story, where is she now?" Jason smiled. "She's home." Back at his apartment, the door opened. Valira stood in the doorway holding a datapad and 2 mugs of steaming tea. "You're late," she teased. "Teaching the next generation. he replied. She handed him a mug. Did they ask about me again? He nodded. You're famous now. She laughed softly. All I wanted was to disappear. And now the galaxy knows your name, Jason said. Valira stepped closer and looked out the window at the stars. I'm still getting used to being real, she said. Sometimes I wake up and expect the pain again, expect someone to call me Unit. Jason touched her shoulder. No one will ever own you again. She turned to face him. I'm not afraid anymore. Jason smiled. Good. They sat together, quietly sipping tea as the stars glowed beyond the glass. 2 lives, once torn apart by darkness, now bound by something stronger. Choice, trust, and a hope that even in the coldest corners of space, kindness could still burn brighter than fear.